To the Northland we go. Our Democrat of the day is it might be the biggest House district in the state. This thing is huge. It runs from Angle Inlet all the way down to Bemidji. It is huge. Reed Olson is kind enough to join us. He is the DFLer running to represent Minnesota 2A as Democrat of the day today. Hi, Reed. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I got a report from a guy up in Grand Rapids last hour that it's about 40 degrees there. Is it much warmer for you where you're at?
It's not much warmer. Last night, I think we topped out at about 71, 72 degrees, and I think today's high is about 41, 42. So quite a change. We knew it was coming.
It's going to get frosty up there tonight, I hear.
It's going to be a chilly one here for the next couple of nights.
Well, bundle up when you do the door knocking here. Why don't we take a few minutes here, first of all, and allow you to introduce yourself. Who exactly is Reed Olson?
Super. Yeah, I'm Reed Olson. I am a Beltrami County Commissioner. And you talked about the size of the district. I think Rob Eklund's district, I think it's 3A. That might be, it runs east-west from I Falls to the Arrowhead. Mm-hmm. So that might be geographically a larger district, but mine is pretty good. So I'm in my second term as a Beltrami County Commissioner. I'm a small business owner. I own the Wild Hare Bistro, which is a restaurant downtown Bemidji. And I stepped away from dishwashing about 3 years ago to be the executive director of the Nameless Coalition for the Homeless. It's an organization that I'm a founding board member of, and in 2015 we bought a little church and converted it into a homeless shelter, and then just in December of 21 we acquired another building and opened up a day shelter. So we've got 24-hour a day and 365-day a year service for unhoused people in the Bemidji area. So I've been in public office since 2013 when I got elected to the Bemidji City Council, and I've just been enjoying that role as a local, nonpartisan elected, and now I'm jumping ship and trying to do the partisan racket. And having a lot of fun here campaigning.
I will say this. I worked a long time ago up at KKBJ up in town there. And homelessness, I came from the cities, and I'm like, it's hard enough to imagine people being homeless in Minneapolis, St. Paul. There is an amazingly large homelessness issue up north. And bless you, just absolutely bless you for addressing that issue and being on the forefront of trying to deal with that, because obviously, especially when you get up there with those cold temperatures, it's, we're talking life or death when you're homeless. And so to be able to help the people, the most needy people, that is just absolutely wonderful, and congratulations, and wonderful that you've been doing that.
Well, thank you. It's a very rewarding job. I really enjoy doing it. I have a great staff that also really enjoy what they do, and we just try to give people as dignified a setting as we can, a safe and dignified setting, while they try to navigate what can be a pretty difficult path to back into housing again. And a lot of people that we serve, I see more and more evidence of just the breakdown of the mental health care system in our country, specifically in our region. We're starting to build back some of that capacity, some of that mental health infrastructure, but too many people that we serve, but for their untreated mental illness, would be in housing, but they're just struggling. And so they find themselves at our doors, and we try to connect them with the services they need to get back into a more secure, stable setting.
Well, bless you on that wonderful work. Can I ask you, with the redistricting, how did the district change?
It changed radically. Well, I should say the original 2A lost 51% of its population. Okay. So it used to run from just north of Park Rapids all the way up, so that's Hubbard County, so the top half of Hubbard County approximately, all the way up through all of Clearwater County, I think a little bit of Roseau County, and then all of Lake of the Woods. And now it lost any of Roseau, it lost Hubbard, it lost the bottom 2/3 of Clearwater County. That's where Bagley, Minnesota is. So the top third has Clearbrook, Minnesota, and Gonvick. So it's got those two cities and then 3 townships up in the northern part of Clearwater County. The lion's share of Beltrami County, excluding the southeastern corner, all the way up to like Black Duck and Kelliher. So we have, like you said, we go from Bemidji all the way up to the Angle, all of Lake of the Woods, all of Red Lake Nation, northern Clearwater County, and then the bulk of Beltrami County. So Bemidji is basically Mr. Grossel, my opponent, the incumbent. He lost the real red meat, or his real base. He lost Bagley, Shevlin, northern Hubbard County, and he picked up Bemidji, which is a blue city.
Yes.
And then the townships around Bemidji, which are more kind of pink. So I, as a county commissioner, I represent one township next to Bemidji. Otherwise, I represent 3 city wards. And that township, I have gotten about 49% of the vote each year that I ran for county. So hopefully that will stay. It'll be interesting once there's a DFL next to my name and not nonpartisan. We'll see if I'm hoping that I can hang on to at least 45%, 50% of that district, or of that township. So Grossel really, he lost a wonderful district that he could, we could see that, 3 years ago, he got arrested, beat up a security guard, got in a fight with cops, got in a fight with nurses.
That's right.
And he still won his next cycle with 63% of the vote, so that's how solid, it's kind of red no matter who or whatever. But now that's not the case. So now he has to introduce himself to Bemidji, where he isn't real popular, and I have much more name recognition because I've been in office. I've owned a business for 17 years, been in office for 10 years. So people are used to seeing me, used to seeing my name. They know me. They know that I'm, with the work that I do on housing and homelessness, they know me as someone that cares about his community. And they know Grossel, if anything, as kind of being a culture warrior bully. So I think I stand a really good chance to, I think it's technically considered an R+3, and I hope that the Republicans really lean into that, like, oh, we're fine, it's the advantages to us. But I think the amount of work that we've been doing, I have a great campaign, a bunch of wonderful volunteers. We've been door knocking every day in the district. We've been getting up to the debt. We've been getting up to Williams. I was just up there last Saturday for the Potato Day parade, and so we're getting out to places that politicians don't normally go to, and we're getting seen, and we're talking to people, and we're running on just kind of, important issues for our area, which is housing, childcare, mental health care, and it's really resonating with people because it's what they see that they need in their community, so. I'm just super excited.
If you talk about strong Democratic areas up there, let's bring in the Red Lake Reservation as well.
Oh, yes, in Red Lake. I'm sorry. I should, yes, absolutely.
The Native American vote has been, it's been so important for the DFL. It's something I think the DFL needs to know more now and then. But, it does create another bit of jeopardy for your Republican opponent because not only do you have and I lived in Bemidji. Bemidji is blue, and it is it's not shying away from being blue either. It's a blue district, and then, of course, the reservation there, that has also been a traditionally blue area. It doesn't lead a lot of areas for him to pick up votes so much because I think this is actually a prime seat for the DFL to pick up in the Northland.
I think it is. I think it's considered the most competitive seat in the state right now, as far as the numbers being so close. And you're absolutely right. And we take Red Lake and the other tribes for granted at our own peril. It's something that I've been doing over the years, I've had a really strong partnership my organization has with different organizations in Red Lake. We work really closely with the Red Lake Shelter Program, Human Services, things like that. And so I've been doing a lot of work in the community. So people in Red Lake, they know me. They know that I'm not just a carpetbagger that's coming around, once every 2 years to smile and wave, but that I have been working in the community trying to help improve people's lives. And so we're really hoping, if we get a good turnout, just as you were saying at the top of the hour here, if we get a really good turnout in Bemidji and a really good turnout in Red Lake, my opponent's path to success starts really shrinking. If we can get a huge turnout in Red Lake, and I can flip a few people up north in Lake of the Woods to come over and vote for me, it's going to be real hard for Grossel to stay in office.
I know a lot of DFLers in Baudette. So it's not exactly. I'm feeling good about this. Let's get into one or two of the issues here that are there. I love the fact that you highlight on your webpage you're fighting for small business. Your experience, obviously, not only your experience running a small business, but then on your charitable work as well. I mean, it really does give you I think, a more rounded perception of, benefiting the community from the small business side.
Yeah, well, and we've been in business long enough that we have been able to experience the positive aspects of public policy and some of the more negative aspects. In Bemidji, we really rely on tourism, and so when we have, was it 2011 or 2012, we had a government shutdown, and the state fiscal year goes from the 1st of July to the last day of June. So July 1, government shuts down. What's our most important, our busiest weekend up here is the 4th of July weekend. And now all of a sudden people can't buy fishing licenses, the state parks aren't open, other state services aren't open. And so that was really difficult for any small business in a tourist town in Minnesota. But then we've seen the opposite where, just recently as COVID hit in 2020 and businesses were forced to shut down, something that I'm really proud of as a county commissioner, we took money that we got from the state, money that we got from the feds, and basically gave it out through our economic development agency, Greater Bemidji, gave it out to small businesses. And we made sure that there was one business that failed in our community during the COVID shutdown. And that was a business that was a little bit shaky and probably was going that way anyway. So government has a huge role to play, whether we want it to or not, in the success or the failure of small business. And so having been on both the policy end of it and as a person trying to balance the cash flow of the business and make payroll, I've seen how government can help and how it can hinder.
Mm-hmm. Housing issue. Let's bring this up because this is obviously something I think we've talked a little bit about at this election cycle, but not much. I mean, we do have a housing crunch everywhere in the state, but especially in rural Minnesota, where you just don't get contractors who are out there saying, I can't make the premium dollar that they can in a suburban build in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So it's hard to kind of get development made and houses built. And, I was reading the New York Times article. It's like God forbid anyone tries to build a single family home nowadays. No one's doing that. Talk about the challenge of housing, because throughout that entire district, there's a housing crisis going on in every district in rural Minnesota as well.
Right. Yeah. And again, I'll talk about when I was up in Baudette and Williams. That's what people talk about. It's difficult for Marvin Windows and Polaris to recruit employees because there's no workforce housing up there. There's plenty of jobs, but nowhere to live. And you nailed it on the head. Developers are going to go where they have the better ROI. If they can get a $70,000 profit per unit in the cities or in Fargo, and they get a $25,000 or a $15,000 profit per unit in Lake of the Woods or Beltrami County, where are they going to go? So how do we incent people to build in rural areas is kind of the key. But it's an economic development issue. We're not able to grow. Businesses aren't relocating, and businesses that exist here aren't expanding because they know that they don't have the workforce housing. I hear it everywhere that I go. And we don't just need like supportive housing and workforce housing or lower income housing. We need housing all the way up the income chain. I know anecdotally about professors that didn't end up coming to Bemidji State University because they couldn't find housing, or doctors were having a hard time getting psychiatrists and psychologists and therapists into Bemidji, which we desperately need, but there's no housing. And then furthermore, they look at daycare options. There's no daycare, so I'll bleed into that if you don't mind a little bit. The county just did a needs assessment, Beltrami County. We need in the Bemidji area, which is, if you take the townships and the city together, there's a little over 30,000 people that live within 10 miles of Bemidji. We need about 1,000 daycare spots for kiddos. So there's like basically no daycare. I know door knocking. I met a woman who lives in Bemidji, works in Bemidji. She has to drive down to Besida, which is about 20 miles away, to drop her kids off at daycare. I know other people that drive north to Black Duck to drop their kids off, about 20 miles away. I know someone that drives to Park Rapids, 35 miles away. So they live in town, they work in town, but they have to spend, an hour to an hour and a half each way, each day, commuting to daycare, and that's just not sustainable. So we need to invest in housing. We need to invest in childcare, just as an economic development issue, desperately up here, and the good news is that we have identified these problems, and now it's just a matter of solving them. It's more difficult when people say that there's no problem when there is. At least now we are admitting and we see the problems, and now it's just a matter of getting them solved.
Yeah. One of the things last thing I want to ask you here is this is the big issue here, the overturning of Roe v. Wade. We have seen in even the reddest of areas, Kansas and in Nebraska, that ruling has changed things. When you're out door knocking, when you're out talking to the public, what has been your experience? Has it been anything, or are you getting a lot of people like, yep, I don't like my rights being taken away?
Yeah, I'm surprised at how little that comes up. The Dodd's decision, I don't hear it a lot. When I ask people what their main concerns are, their concerns are quality education for their kids, affordable housing, daycare, real bread and butter. I know that if I ask someone, what do you think about about Roe v. Wade? What do you think about inflation or whatever? Then they say, oh yeah, that is really concerning. And I don't think it's maybe talked about. I hesitate to say that, but I don't hear it a whole lot, though I know it is on people's minds, and I know it is going to affect the election, even in the North Country, So I think it is a real long-term tactical error by the GOP to really push this. And then people have been saying, well, we need to leave it up to states' rights. States should make these decisions. But you hear what our opponents are saying. I mean, they want these draconian zero access to abortion, regardless, and you hear now of other states, not Minnesota, but other states where women's and girls' health care is really being put at risk because pharmacists or doctors are afraid to prescribe appropriate care because they don't want to wind up in jail or they don't want to get sued or whatever, So it's a huge, huge problem socially, but I think politically it advantages us. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate that that's what it takes for an advantage because it's just a really
horrible thing.
It's really a reckless ruling, and what the Republicans are looking at doing is really quite scary.
Well, there's one candidate in this race that's going to protect people's rights, and that's Reed Olson. That's just that simple. And
that is what I do.
Yeah, and he's there to protect your rights. And it's not just this right; it's the other rights the Republicans are teeing off on, getting ready to try to take away from people. Reed, obviously, you are in a huge district. I want to implore everyone here, at the very least, it takes a lot of gas miles to get around up there. Make a donation to Reed's campaign. Also, I imagine if people come up, that you can find some door knocking for them to do. But do you have volunteer opportunities for people that they can do remotely from the cities?
We can do phone banking and things like that. So absolutely, if someone wants to help us out, we haven't put together a postcard writing campaign because that's something that some campaigns often do. But definitely phone banking, or why not make a trip? Come on up here and hurry up, and you can still catch some of the fall colors for a limited time. But yeah, we definitely have door knocking opportunities and other volunteer opportunities. You can go to my website. That's votereedolson.com. And you can find there's a survey on there that you can fill out and find a way to help out the campaign. And campaigns take money, so if you can find yourself, if you haven't made a donation yet, you can always do the $50 PCR, the political contribution rebate. So give me $50, you'll get it back in about 6 weeks.
VoteReedOlson.com, VoteReedOlson.com. Donate, volunteer. There's a lot of opportunities there. Get in touch with this campaign. Help him out because 2A is a very likely, this is a good chance the DFL can pick up the seat up in the Northland, and that would scare the living daylights out of the GOP.
Yep. Well, and we pick up this seat, and that's going to go a long ways to helping my colleague Alan Roy pick up the Senate seat. We pick up the Senate seat. We just might flip the Senate. And as you said again at the top of the show, we can actually legislate, but we got to have full control of the government. We weren't able to legislate last session, because the GOP had no interest in passing anything, and it hurt a lot of communities. So we got to take control so that we can get out there and really do some good for the good people in Minnesota.
Reed Olson, 2A, Democrat of the Day. VoteReedOlson.com. Go help him out if you can. Reed, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'll love to talk to you in January once I'm at the legislature about all the things we're going to do.
When you're in St. Paul, you're more than welcome anytime to come on my show, by all means, okay?
Super.
Take care.
Thank you, sir.